Well, howdy, folks. This is a new feature that we're going to do on this video from Saturday. We have Keith on his GSXR. We're at Eagles Canyon on a scorching hot, round about 100-degree Fahrenheit day. Otherwise, it was beautiful. Not a drop of rain, as we've had so much lately, but we are going to take a look and review some riding. Now, Keith is an experienced rider, but he hasn't been on a bike in over 2 years. So his main aim for today is to get back into the groove. And he also hasn't ridden on this track since it was repaved. And of course, when it was repaved, it also had a significant change made to the layout. So this is all new to Keith. So we're going to make some observations and talk about the aims of a rider new to the track and see what we can see. So this is the new 6, 7 and 8. These are turns that were added during the repave. Turn 6 is a nice fast left-hander. Then we've got this fast 6 is a fast right-hander. Then we've got the 7, similarly fast left-hander, and then a slow left-hander for 8. And probably the first thing I noticed was that Keith was looking where he was going. He was concerned about his safety. He wanted to stay safe, so he was watching that there were no obstacles in the way. He was checking to make sure that there was no hazards on the track. And while that's a very good tactic and technique for riding on the street, it's really not necessary for the track. It gets swept and brushed every day. We have corner workers to check for obstacles or hazards. So one of the biggest challenges that riders have when they're on the track for the first time, or for the first time in a long time, is lifting their eyes, looking far enough down the track to give their brain the information needed to ride quickly, safely, smoothly, and fast. So that's the first thing we're going to work on. Now here I'm looking at the head turn. We were talking a lot about that in the classroom, looking for the vanishing point. That's a very common technique for when we have an uphill rise, an embankment where we can't see over the track. So we look at the vanishing point. We literally look as far forward as it is possible to look. Okay, so here's another one of the interesting features of this track, these double apex corners. As you notice, Keith kind of followed the line of the track, whereas I traced a smooth, constant radius through all of those corners. I turned 2 corners into 1. So that's something we're going to work on. Alright, so here we go for first corner. And this is where we want to get on the gas as early as possible. Now we're looking up the hill. The next turn is another double apex off to the left. We pick our aim point, and as soon as we know we're going to hit the aim point, we take our eyes off it and look to the next one. Literally speaking, we want to stay 1 turn ahead of our bike. So here's turn 4. It's a nice fast right-hander down this hill. Then we have this very interesting uphill right. So I'm looking at the vanishing point and I'm visualizing what the track looks like over the side of the hill that I cannot see. Okay, here's that fast turn 6. Key to this circuit, to this corner on the circuit, is to look as far forward as you can. If you're in turn 6, you should be looking towards turn 7, perhaps even turn 8. it just gives you an indication of how safe it is to go faster through this turn. Okay, now this is where we're going to slow down, downshift, pick an efficient line, and then this is the critical corner right here, the most critical corner on the track because it's right before the longest straight. The faster you can come through this corner, the better you can do this corner, the faster your speed will be at the end of the straight. So a corner that's right before another corner is not very important because getting it perfect doesn't give you such a huge advantage as this one we just went through. Okay, so here we have an interesting one where we come out of this left-hander and instead of running off to the right-hand side of the track as typical, we actually want to stay to the extreme left of the track because we have this nice, fast, challenging right-hander. A lot of people look at that cone on the inside because it's what they don't want to hit. They're focused on what they want to avoid. They focus on that instead of where they want to go. Okay, that was another double apex. And this, again, blind uphill corner. This one is made a lot easier by the fact that there's a gorgeous reference point which you can see right now. That tower is in a perfect straight line from the left-hand edge of the track. So as long as you stay to the right-hand side of that tower, you won't run off the track. So it's possible to give your throttle a much larger twist because you can see over the hill. You can see where that tower is. Okay, so let's do another double apex. We just need to work out on some smooth radius. We want to make that radius there as large as we can because you can go faster around a larger radius than you can around a smaller radius. Okay, so Keith's all set up. He's got his knee out. He's not doing much in the way of hip action, not much in the way of shoulder action, but his body position is a little better going to lefts than it is when going to the right. So that's another thing to focus on. Everybody has a preference. Everyone does prefer to go either left or right. After teaching MSF for many, many years, I would often ask who prefers lefts and who prefers rights, and there was never any correlation between that and being left-handed or being right-handed. It was just very random. Okay, so again, we're going to come down the hill and we're going to look up the hill to the vanishing point and we're going to visualize that cone on the outside left-hand corner of the track. And we're going to steer with the throttle towards the outside edge. We're just going to feed in as much throttle as we possibly can. And the only reason Keith slowed down here is because he was looking at that cone. He was looking to where he didn't want to go, which is totally natural. This is an inherently dangerous activity. Our brain is saying, whoa, this is really dangerous. This is really dangerous. I could get hurt really badly here. I'm going to look for all the hazards and avoid them. And yeah, that is a good safety technique. It's kept us safe our whole lives. But if you want to ride faster, I'm not saying fast, if you want to ride faster on a track like this, then you have to take your eyes off the hazards and focus instead on the targets. Focus where you do want to go. Do not focus on where you don't want to go. Okay, so after Danny goes blasting by on his battleship Ducati, we're going to do the extreme left side of the track here. And now I'm not looking at that cone, I'm looking at the outside edge of the next corner. I'm looking right about here. That was my aim point. And then for this downhill double apex, I've found my reference point. I set my body position and I keep that same body position locked in all the way through the corner. And as we all know, the cardinal rule, once you enter a corner, crack the throttle and keep opening it constantly, continually through the corner. That balances your motorcycle, loads up the rear tire, doesn't overload your front tire. Okay, so we're always going to assume that there is someone behind us about to pass at a huge rate of speed. So we never make any sudden swerves or jerks from one side of the track to the other. Okay, here we go. Constant radius. Constantly opening the throttle all the way through the turn. And you may notice I'm on cute little MV Agusta today. I was lucky enough to spend a few sessions on my girlfriend's bike. Okay, here we go. Tip in, we want to get on the gas right about there. So I'm opening up the throttle and I'm giving it as much throttle as it can. If I find that I'm going to run wide, then I just suspend my body over further to the left, and that will pull the motorcycle to the left. Okay, big head turn. I'm looking all the way through the corner. I'm not looking where I'm going, I'm looking where I want to go. Just like if I'm throwing a baseball to a catcher, I look at the mitt, I look at the target. Okay, focusing on smooth. I want to downshift smoothly. I want to get into the right gear, get my body position set, and now I'm visualizing that cone over the hill. That one right there. And I'm feeding in as much throttle as I could in order to use up all the track. And here I am. I'm not looking at this cone on the right. I'm looking all the way through to this point right here. That was my aim point all the way back before the previous corner. So again, nice and smooth. Don't want to upset the machine. Tip in and accelerate. Do not focus on the hazards. Focus on the targets you want to hit, not on the ones you want to avoid. Okay, so now, nice long back straight. Let's just take a moment to breathe. Just checking to make sure Keith is still there. There he goes. So remember, let's come through this left and finish it on the extreme left of the circuit, because we're always staying one corner ahead of our bike. There he goes, he's preparing for the next turn. Don't focus on the hazard, focus on the target you want to hit, not the one you want to miss. Okay. Good. So, not much hip action. So this is the exercise where this is the session I mentioned to wiggle your elbow when you're in the corner. If it just waves and doesn't hit anything, then that means you need to get your shoulders further over. If you wiggle your elbow when it hits the tank, then you're good. But if you're riding at 99 or 100% or 105% of your regular effort, then you don't have the time to think about anything like that. You don't have time to think about what you should be doing, what you should be practicing, what you should be learning. All you're focused on is just not crashing, and that is not a good environment for learning. You can't learn anything if all you're focused on is not crashing. Okay, so let's see. He's experimenting with his body position on the straight. And of course, this is made a little more difficult by the extreme heat, even at this speed. It's really hot. Okay, let's see the hips. There we go. Yeah, that's good. That was good shoulders, good hip. We don't want to have an enormous amount of hip action trying to touch the knee down while the head and shoulders are directly above the screen. Okay, so he's looking through the corner. And another good technique to use is keep 90% of your attention focused on your aim point. Keep it focused where you want to go. But then just use 10% of your peripheral vision to look down and make sure you're not going to oversteer and clip that curb. Don't watch the curb. You don't need to watch your aim point disappear under your wheels. but you do want to be aware of where you're at, so just use your peripheral vision. There's some great pictures. I've got one of Mick Doohan with his head pointed through the turn, but just as the photographer took the picture, his eyes just flicked down to look at where he was going, perhaps because there was 6 inches of water in the corner that he was in. Anyway, so let's see, we want to come through this corner with a perfect body position ready for the left. We want to be in the right gear, ready to accelerate, looking down the corner, because this is the most important corner on the track, being right before the longest straight. You can get more advantage, more benefit in your lap time if you get that corner perfect than any other corner on the track. And breathe. Okay. Now get ready for the corner. Don't leave everything to the last second. Body position set, gear position set, throttle set. Look through the corner, then accelerate through it. Now with 15 corners and multiple reference points per corner, there's a lot of information to learn for the first time on a new track. So we're not expecting scorching lap times first time out. This is a long process. What we want to do is learn good technique that we can apply to every track, regardless of where it is. We want to learn the technique to learn a track. So that way, whether you're here at Eagles Canyon or anywhere else, the same rules apply. Okay, so right here, I'm looking at Keith's head. I want to see where he looks and when. And there, just tipped in and just looked. So he left it a little late for the head turn. He's not giving his body much time to react to the information his eyes are picking up. So let's see if I can just show him a better line through turn 3. So I want to demonstrate smoothness, and I want to demonstrate early on the gas. And at this point, I think I was literally pointing with my fingers, my hand. Okay. At this point here, I'm going to look. Okay, so there's my hand pointing where I'm looking. Smooth, constant radius. And a lot of people take for granted the fact that it's so easy to ride this circuit well, but there are so many different inputs coming at us. And it is difficult to get everything right every corner. It takes a lot of practice. The pros that we watch who are racing make it look easy, but they're on a whole different level to just regular guys like us. But there are tricks, there are techniques to get towards that level. Okay, so I'm just trying to smoothly shift, smooth as possible, into the right gear. And this is a really tricky corner after those two really fast ones. And right here, again, on the throttle as early as possible, and you want to straighten out that corner as much as you can also, because the longer you can make this straight, the faster you can go. If you can make this straight longer by 10 or 20 yards just by straightening out that last corner before it, then that's 10 or 20 yards that you can go faster in. Literally, by extending the length of the back straight, you're increasing the speed you can travel along it. So you want to get your turning done quickly, straighten up, and accelerate. Okay. So, as always, we're focused on smoothness. We're focused on visual reference points. We're looking for where we want to be, not where we are going. And now again, as I mentioned, that perfect reference point is that tower. Let's see when we can see it. Okay, I'm looking all the way up the corner, and there it is. The earlier you can see your reference point, the earlier you can get on the throttle. And when you do get on the throttle, it's not like you have to physically say, okay, I can see my reference point, now I'll get on the throttle. It just happens automatically. Your eyes give your brain the information to say, it's safe. I know where I am, I know where the track is, I know where the edge of the track, I know where the hazards are, and before you know what's going on, your wrist is twisting. And it doesn't necessarily make you feel faster. In actual fact, I had some students last week who said, wow, by looking further down the track, it feels slower. They literally felt like they were going slower, but from the data logger on my bike, we could see that their speed through that particular corner was a lot faster. Okay, so he's looking through the corner, he's getting more and more comfortable with the sensations. Still not got the hang of this double apex, but like I said, there's a lot going on. The main focus was to be safe. We want to stay within our limits. We don't want to push too hard. There's no rewards for being the fastest rider on a track day, and there's even fewer rewards for being the fastest rider at a coaching day. So there's no point trying to prove how manly you are. No one's impressed. Everyone, no matter how fast they are, has someone who's faster. No matter how fast you are on the track, there's always someone faster. No matter how slow you are on the track, there's always someone slower. So this is a great opportunity to just leave the ego at the door. Don't focus on that sort of thing. Just focus on your own riding. Focus on developing your own skills. And focus on learning. Because after all, that's why we're here. This is a great opportunity to just work on your own skills. It's a nice open track. There's very little traffic, as you can see. So let's just take this opportunity to slow down in order to ride smoother and safer, more efficiently, and faster. So that looks like Keith's signaling the end of the session. Okay, so that was good. We worked on a lot of basics, put into practice a lot of the techniques we talked about in the classroom, and rode smoothly and safely and within our limits. So that was definitely a successful session. So let's take a look at the next one.